The Song Dynasty, the Age of Innovation and Invention. Introduction. After the collapse of the Tang Dynasty, China once again descended into chaos. For more than 50 years, rival kingdoms battled for power during a turbulent era known as the Five Dynasties and Ten Kingdoms period. Cities changed hands repeatedly, emperors rose and fell, and ordinary people longed for peace. Then, in AD 960, a military commander named Zhao Quangyin reunited much of China and founded the Song Dynasty. Unlike many earlier rulers, the Song emperors focused less on conquest and more on strengthening the economy, education, science, and technology. While Europe was entering the Middle Ages, China experienced one of the greatest technological revolutions in human history. Many inventions that shaped the modern world either appeared or reached new levels of development. During the Song Dynasty, this was an age when ideas became more powerful than armies. The rise of the Song Dynasty. According to legend, Zhao Quangyin never intended to become emperor. His soldiers reportedly placed the imperial yellow robe upon his shoulders while he slept, declaring him their new ruler. Whether the story is completely true remains uncertain, but Zhao accepted the throne and became Emperor Taizu of Song. Learning from the mistakes of previous dynasties, he reduced the power of military commanders. Instead, educated civil officials became the backbone of the government. The Song Dynasty emphasized stability, education, and efficient administration rather than endless warfare. The world's first paper money as trade expanded across China. Carrying heavy bronze coins became increasingly difficult. Merchants needed a safer and more practical system. The solution was revolutionary. The Song government introduced the world's first widely used paper money. These banknotes made long-distance trade easier than ever before. Markets grew rapidly. Businesses expanded. Large commercial cities flourished. Although paper money is common today, the Song Dynasty pioneered its use nearly 1,000 years ago. The age of great inventions. The Song period witnessed an explosion of scientific and technological progress. Printing became faster through movable type, developed by the inventor Bai Sheng. The magnetic compass allowed sailors to navigate open seas with far greater confidence. Gunpowder evolved from fireworks into powerful military weapons such as bombs, rockets, and primitive firearms. Chinese engineers designed sophisticated clocks, water-powered machines, astronomical observatories, and advanced shipbuilding techniques. Many historians believe Song China was the most technologically advanced society on Earth. During its time, cities that never slept. The Song Dynasty witnessed the rise of enormous cities, unlike anything seen before. The capital Kaifeng became one of the largest urban centers in the world. Busy streets remained active long after sunset. Restaurants, theaters, tea houses, bookstores, markets, and entertainment districts attracted people from every level of society. Street performers entertained crowds. Merchants sold goods from across Asia. Printed books became affordable for ordinary citizens. Some historians compare Song cities to the first truly modern urban economies. Education and civil service. Success in Song China increasingly depended on education. Young men spent years studying Confucian classics in preparation for difficult government examinations. Only a small percentage passed. Those who succeeded earned prestigious government positions, regardless of their family's social status. This examination system rewarded knowledge more than noble birth. Although not perfectly fair, it offered opportunities that were rare in most medieval societies. The respect for education established during the Song Dynasty continues to influence Chinese culture today. Myth versus reality. Did China invent everything? China is often credited with inventing nearly every important ancient technology. The reality is more balanced. China certainly produced remarkable innovations, including paper, printing, gunpowder, and the magnetic compass. However, many discoveries resulted from centuries of improvement rather than sudden invention by a single individual. Likewise, civilizations in Mesopotamia, Egypt, India, Greece, Persia, and the Islamic world also made extraordinary scientific contributions. History is best understood as the result of many civilizations, building upon each other's achievements. The northern threat. Despite its cultural success, the Song Dynasty faced powerful enemies. The Liao, Western Jia, and later the Qing Dynasty repeatedly attacked northern China. The Song possessed advanced technology but often struggled militarily. Eventually, the Qing conquered northern China in 1127 during an event known as the Jingkang Incident. The emperor was captured. The capital fell. The surviving royal family escaped south, establishing the southern Song Dynasty. Although weakened, Song China continued to prosper economically for another century. The arrival of the Mongols in the early 13th century, a new power emerged from the northern steppes. Nomadic horsemen united under a brilliant leader whose name would become legendary, Genghis Khan. His armies swept across Asia with astonishing speed. One kingdom after another fell before the Mongol Empire. Even the powerful Qing Dynasty could not resist. Soon, the Mongols turned their attention toward the wealthy southern Song. The greatest challenge in Chinese history was approaching. The fall of the Song dynasty. For decades, Song generals resisted the Mongol advance. Powerful fortifications and advanced weapons slowed the invaders. Chinese engineers even used early gunpowder bombs against Mongol armies. But the Mongols adapted quickly. Under Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, the Mongol Empire launched its final invasion. At 1279, the last Song fleet was defeated at the Battle of Yemen. According to tradition, a loyal minister carried the young emperor into the sea rather than allow him to be captured. With his death, the Song dynasty came to an end. China entered a new era under foreign rule. Conclusion: the Song dynasty proved that a civilization could become powerful through knowledge, commerce, and innovation rather than military conquest alone. Its inventions transformed navigation, communication, printing, banking, and warfare. Many technologies first developed or perfected during the Song period would eventually spread across the world and shape the modern age. Yet China's next rulers would not be Chinese. For the first time in history, the entire empire would be ruled by a foreign dynasty founded by the descendants of Genghis Khan. In the next chapter, we will explore the Mongol conquest and the Yuan Dynasty. How Kublai Khan ruled China. The Yuan Dynasty. When the Mongols ruled China. Introduction. For thousands of years, China had been ruled by Chinese dynasties. Empires rose and fell, but power always remained in the hands of native rulers. Then, in the 13th century, everything changed. A wave of horsemen from the northern steppes swept across Asia, conquering kingdoms that had stood for centuries. They were the Mongols, led first by Genghis Khan and later by his grandson Kublai Khan. They created the largest continuous land empire in human history. When the Mongols conquered the Song dynasty in 1279, China entered an entirely new era. For the first time, the Middle Kingdom would be ruled by foreigners. The Yuan dynasty had begun. The rise of Kublai Khan. Kublai Khan was born in 1215, the grandson of Genghis Khan. Unlike many Mongol leaders, he admired Chinese culture. He studied Confucian scholars, supported agriculture, and understood that ruling China required more than military strength. After years of civil war within the Mongol Empire, Kublai emerged victorious. In 1271, he officially proclaimed the Yuan dynasty. 8 years later, after defeating the southern Song, he became ruler of all China. For the first time, nearly the entire country was united under Mongol control. A new imperial capital. Kublai Khan moved the imperial capital to Dadu, the city that would later become modern Beijing. Massive walls surrounded the capital. Wide streets, canals, markets, and magnificent palaces transformed it into one of the greatest cities on earth. Engineers expanded the Grand Canal, allowing grain and supplies to travel from southern China directly to the capital. The Yuan court became a meeting place for merchants, diplomats, scholars, and travelers from across Eurasia. The Silk Road reopens under Mongol rule. The Silk Road entered one of its safest periods. Since the Mongol Empire stretched from Eastern Europe to China, merchants could travel thousands of kilometers under a single political authority. Silk, porcelain, spices, paper, precious metals, and scientific knowledge moved across continents. Chinese inventions reached Europe more rapidly. Likewise, foreign ideas entered China. Historians often describe this era as one of the earliest examples of globalization. Marco Polo and the Great Khan. Perhaps the most famous visitor was the Venetian merchant Marco Polo. He claimed to have spent many years serving Kublai Khan. His writings described enormous cities, paper money, efficient postal systems, and incredible wealth. Some historians debate whether every detail of Marco Polo's story is accurate. However, his book introduced millions of Europeans to the wonders of China and inspired future explorers, including Christopher Columbus centuries later. Life under Mongol rule. Although Kublai respected Chinese traditions, Mongol society remained highly structured. People were divided into different social classes. Mongols occupied the highest positions. Foreign merchants and officials often received privileges. Many Chinese scholars lost political influence. Heavy taxes increased. Despite these inequalities, trade flourished, cities expanded, and cultural exchange reached unprecedented levels. China became the center of an international empire unlike anything the world had ever seen. Myth versus reality. Were the Mongols only destroyers? The Mongols are often remembered solely for destruction. Indeed, many cities across Asia and Europe suffered devastating invasions. Millions died during the Mongol conquests. Yet the Mongol Empire also connected distant civilizations. Trade expanded dramatically. Ideas, inventions, medicine, astronomy, and engineering spread faster than ever before. The Mongols were both conquerors and builders of one of history's largest trade networks. The beginning of decline. By the mid-1300s, serious problems began to emerge. Floods damaged farmland. Famine spread across northern China. Corruption weakened the government. Heavy taxes angered farmers. At the same time, outbreaks of plague devastated many parts of Eurasia. The Yuan government struggled to respond. Rebellions erupted throughout the empire. One of the largest became known as the Red Turban Rebellion. The Mongols were losing control. The fall of the Yuan Dynasty. Among the rebel leaders was a former Buddhist monk named Zhu Yuanzhang. An orphan who had grown up in poverty, Zhu gradually built a powerful army. His forces defeated rival rebels before turning against the Yuan government. In 1368, Mongol forces abandoned Beijing and retreated north into Mongolia. Zhu Yuanzhang entered the capital and founded a new Chinese dynasty. The Ming Dynasty had begun. After nearly a century of foreign rule, China was once again governed by native Chinese emperors. Conclusion: the Yuan Dynasty forever changed Chinese history. It united East and West through trade, transformed Beijing into an imperial capital, and connected civilizations across Eurasia. Although Mongol rule eventually ended, its influence remained visible for centuries. The next dynasty would rebuild Chinese power, construct one of history's greatest fleets, and complete one of the world's most famous landmarks. In the next chapter, we will explore the Ming Dynasty, Zheng He, the Forbidden City, and the Great Wall Reborn. The Ming Dynasty, China's last great native empire. Introduction. When the Mongol Yuan Dynasty collapsed in 1368, China stood exhausted. Years of war, famine, corruption, and rebellion had devastated the empire. But from the ashes emerged a man whose life seemed impossible. He had been born into a poor farming family. His parents died during famine. He spent part of his youth begging for food and living as a Buddhist monk. Yet this orphan would become one of the most powerful emperors in Chinese history. His name was Zhu Yuanzhang, known after taking the throne as the Hongwu Emperor. He founded the Ming Dynasty, restoring Chinese rule after nearly a century of Mongol domination. The Ming era would become one of China's greatest golden ages. Rebuilding the empire, Hongwu believed that only a strong government could prevent another collapse. He reduced the power of corrupt officials and strengthened the authority of the emperor. New laws encouraged farming, repaired irrigation systems, and lowered taxes for many peasants. Millions of abandoned fields were cultivated once again. Food production increased rapidly. Population began to recover. China entered a long period of stability and prosperity. The Forbidden City. Hongwu's son, the Yongle Emperor, moved the capital from Nanjing to Beijing. There he ordered the construction of one of the greatest architectural projects in history, the Forbidden City. More than 1 million workers and craftsmen spent over 14 years building the enormous palace complex. Golden roofs, marble courtyards, giant ceremonial halls, and beautiful gardens symbolized the power of the emperor. Ordinary people were forbidden to enter. Only members of the imperial family, trusted officials, and palace servants could pass through its gates. Today, the Forbidden City remains the largest preserved imperial palace on earth. The voyages of Zheng He. During the early 1400s, China possessed the largest navy in the world. Its greatest commander was Admiral Zheng He. His treasure fleets included hundreds of ships, some far larger than European vessels of the same era. Between 1405 and 1433, Zheng He led 7 massive expeditions across Southeast Asia, India, Arabia, and East Africa. His ships carried silk, porcelain, tea, and valuable gifts. They returned with spices, precious stones, exotic animals, and foreign ambassadors. Some accounts even describe a giraffe presented to the emperor, believed by many Chinese to be the mythical Qilin, a symbol of good fortune. The Great Wall rebuilt. Many people believe the Great Wall visible today was built by China's first emperor. In reality, much of the famous wall tourists visit today was constructed during the Ming Dynasty. After repeated attacks from Mongol tribes, Ming rulers invested enormous resources into rebuilding and strengthening the northern defenses. Workers built massive stone walls, watchtowers, mountain fortresses, and signal stations stretching thousands of kilometers. The wall became one of the greatest military engineering projects ever completed. Trade, porcelain, and silk. The Ming economy flourished. Chinese porcelain became one of the world's most desired luxury goods. Silk continued to travel across Asia and beyond. Tea became increasingly important in international trade. Merchants from Portugal, Spain, and later other European kingdoms arrived by sea seeking Chinese goods. Silver from the Americas eventually flowed into China, connecting the global economy in ways never seen before. By the 16th century, China had become one of the richest economies on Earth. Myth versus reality. Did Zheng He discover America? Some popular books claim Zheng He's fleet reached America decades before Christopher Columbus. However, no reliable archaeological or historical evidence supports this theory. Historical records clearly show Zheng He's expeditions reached Southeast Asia, India, Arabia, and East Africa. His voyages were extraordinary, but there is no convincing proof that they crossed the Pacific Ocean. Nevertheless, Zheng He commanded one of history's greatest naval expeditions long before many European powers dominated the seas. The decline of the Ming Dynasty. Despite its achievements, serious problems gradually weakened the empire. Government corruption returned. Powerful court eunuchs gained enormous influence. Natural disasters destroyed crops. Climate change during the Little Ice Age caused poor harvests. Heavy taxes angered farmers. Meanwhile, pirate attacks and growing external threats placed increasing pressure on the government. Large rebellions erupted across the country. The once powerful empire struggled to maintain order. The fall of the Ming in 1644, rebel leader Li Zicheng captured Beijing. The last Ming emperor, the Chongzhen emperor, realizing defeat was inevitable, climbed a hill behind the Forbidden City and took his own life. Soon afterward, a new force entered China from the northeast. The Mongols crossed the Great Wall with the support of Ming generals seeking to defeat the rebels. Instead of restoring the Ming Dynasty, they established a new ruling house. The Qing Dynasty had begun. China would now be ruled by another foreign dynasty. Conclusion: the Ming Dynasty restored Chinese power after the Mongol conquest and oversaw one of the greatest periods of prosperity, exploration, and cultural achievement in Chinese history. It built the Forbidden City, strengthened the Great Wall, launched the legendary voyages of Zheng He, and turned China into a global center of trade. Yet every empire eventually faces new challenges. In the next and final chapter, we will explore the Qing Dynasty, the Opium Wars, the fall of Imperial China, and the birth of modern China. The Qing Dynasty and the birth of modern China. The end of an empire. Introduction. For more than 2,000 years, China had been ruled by emperors. Dynasties rose and fell, but the idea of an eternal empire seemed unshakable. Yet during the 17th century, a new dynasty from beyond the Great Wall took power. The Qing Dynasty, founded by the Mongols, would become China's last imperial dynasty. At first, the Qing Empire reached extraordinary heights. Its territory expanded farther than ever before. Its population grew into the hundreds of millions. Its economy became one of the largest in the world. But beneath the surface, new dangers were approaching. European powers were entering Asia. Industrialization was changing warfare. China, once the world's most advanced civilization, suddenly found itself struggling to keep pace with a rapidly changing world. This is the story of how Imperial China came to an end and how modern China was born. The rise of the Qing Empire in 1644. The Manchu army entered Beijing after the fall of the Ming Dynasty. Their young ruler became the first Qing emperor to govern all of China. Although the Mongols were outsiders, they adopted many Chinese traditions. They preserved Confucian government, respected Chinese culture, and ruled through existing institutions. Under the reigns of the Kangxi, Yongjing, and Qianlong emperors, China entered one of its greatest periods of stability. The empire expanded into Tibet, Xinjiang, Mongolia, and Taiwan. By the late 18th century, Qing China controlled more land than any previous Chinese dynasty. The prosperous empire agriculture improved dramatically. New crops such as corn, sweet potatoes, and peanuts introduced from the Americas allowed food production to increase. China's population exploded from roughly 150 million to over 400 million people. Cities grew rapidly. Trade flourished. Chinese silk, porcelain, and tea became highly desired throughout Europe. Many European merchants desperately wanted access to Chinese markets. but China saw little need for European products. Foreign trade remained tightly controlled through the port of Guangzhou. This imbalance would soon lead to conflict. The Opium Wars. Britain faced a serious problem. It imported enormous quantities of Chinese tea, silk, and porcelain, but had few goods that China wanted. To solve this, British merchants began illegally selling opium into China. Millions became addicted. Silver flowed out of the country. The Qing government attempted to stop the trade. In 1839, Commissioner Lin Zexu confiscated and destroyed huge amounts of opium. Britain responded with military force. The First Opium War revealed the enormous technological gap between industrial Europe and Qing China. Steam-powered warships and modern artillery overwhelmed Chinese forces. China suffered a humiliating defeat. Unequal treaties and foreign influence. Following the war, China was forced to sign the Treaty of Nanjing. Several ports were opened to foreign trade. Hong Kong was ceded to Britain. Other European powers soon demanded similar privileges. Foreign influence spread across China. Many Chinese viewed these agreements as deeply unfair. This period became known as the Century of Humiliation, a memory that continues to shape Chinese national identity today. The Taiping Rebellion. As foreign pressure increased, internal problems became even worse. In 1850, a man named Hong Shuquan claimed he was the younger brother of Jesus Christ. He gathered millions of followers and launched the Taiping Rebellion. The conflict became one of the deadliest wars in human history. Entire cities were destroyed. Famine spread. Between 20 and 30 million people may have died. Although the Qing government eventually crushed the rebellion, the empire was permanently weakened. The last reform attempts realizing the empire was falling behind. Some officials demanded modernization. New factories were built. Railways appeared. Western science and military technology were introduced. However, reforms progressed slowly. Many conservative officials resisted change. The famous Empress Dowager Cixi remains one of history's most controversial figures. Some historians accuse her of blocking modernization. Others argue that she faced impossible political challenges while trying to preserve the empire. The debate continues today. Myth versus reality. Was China completely isolated? A common myth claims that Imperial China completely isolated itself from the outside world. The reality is far more complex. China traded with merchants from Europe, Southeast Asia, India, the Middle East, and Japan for centuries. The Qing government restricted foreign trade, but it never completely ended international commerce. Ideas, technologies, religions, and goods continued to move in both directions. China was connected to the global economy long before the modern era. The fall of the Qing Dynasty. By the beginning of the 20th century, revolution seemed inevitable. Economic hardship, foreign intervention, and public dissatisfaction fueled growing unrest. One of the leading revolutionary figures was Sun Yat-sen. He dreamed of replacing imperial rule with a modern republic. In 1911, the Xinhai Revolution broke out. Province after province declared independence from the Qing government. The following year, the last emperor, Pui, abdicated the throne. After more than 2,000 years of imperial rule, the Chinese Empire officially came to an end. The Republic of China was born. Modern China. The fall of the Qing Dynasty did not immediately bring peace. China entered decades of political instability, warlord conflicts, civil war, and foreign invasion. Later, the struggle between the nationalists and the communists reshaped the country once again. In 1949, the People's Republic of China was established under Mao Zedong, while the Republic of China continued to exist in Taiwan. Since then, China has undergone one of the fastest economic transformations in human history. Today, it is one of the world's largest economies, a global technological leader, and home to more than 1.4 billion people. Its influence reaches every continent. Conclusion. China's history is one of humanity's longest continuous stories. From the villages along the Yellow River to the mighty Han Empire, from the genius of the Tang and Song dynasties to the Mongol conquest, from the splendor of the Ming Dynasty to the final days of the Qing Empire, each generation shaped the civilization that exists today. China has survived invasions, dynastic collapses, revolutions, natural disasters, and enormous social change, yet its cultural identity has endured for over 4,000 years. Its inventions transformed the world. Its philosophers influenced millions. Its emperors built monuments that still inspire awe. And its story continues to unfold. Thank you for watching this complete journey through the history of China. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more incredible stories from world history.